How's it going? How you doing? What are you up to? So tomorrow we will be starting not at 11 or 11:14, nor will we be starting anywhere between 10 to 11, maybe possibly. But we should be starting here at 10 a.m. PST on the channel. I apologize for the inconvenience of today. I'm going to go ahead and pass these live stream shares around. Hey, thank you so much for the subscription. 141, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see if we can hit 200 by the end of the month, right? Let's see if we can do it. If we can do it, I'll dance. Well, no, I'm not going to dance for you guys. I'm sorry. I'm not going to dance. I don't dance. Last time I danced, people were depressed, and I don't want you guys to be depressed. Right? People were very depressed. At everyone, we are alive and live here. Rhea, how's it going, Rhea? How are you doing today on this beautiful Tuesday? How are you holding up? How's your morning going? Are the chores looking good? I guess, I don't know. I feel like that's the wrong thing to say. But if you notice one thing, Rhea, we've added the borders now. I kind of did this on my own earlier this morning. Didn't get much time to work on this yesterday. I'm doing a logo for a friend so I can make some money to pay for the LLC tax and for their little, they make you get a sign. So you know your rights as an employee, and I'm the only employee currently of Nazareth Studio, so I'll make sure to put it in a big place where you guys can look at it too. But yeah, we have the border now, and it's looking sweet. So essentially we do this by creating a group, right, that holds all these points. Then we transfer those attributes to a separate initializer, right? And then, you know, on this we have to do some clearing, take away the uniform bias, right? And essentially we get ourselves clean level. Looks good. Thank you, Rhea. Sorry, I feel like I do a little bit too much talking. But it's good for these things, right? It's good for these things. Been good morning. Just have a few chores today and computer work. Okay, cool. Yeah, you've been in a while now, so I don't feel strange asking, but what type of computer work do you do? Just like, is it just like Blender work, or is that what you do? You work on the computer for the dollar bills? But yeah, let's see. The only issue that I'm getting, though, is by the end of this, right, we're getting this bad boy here. And for some strange reason, this isn't updating. So we got to figure out what it is. Like if I go and I go level wave collapse, right, and I enter into this bad boy, I got to see if anything in here is out of the ordinary. I want to see if things carried over, because it looks to me, yeah, it looks to me as if things have carried over. This is just not registering, I guess, the process correctly, let's go ahead and check out what type of item we're getting in here. Boom. Yeah, see, we're not getting that border like we should be. And I wonder why. Why aren't we getting the border? Wave collapse. That's why I'm not using the right one. At least I don't believe I'm using the right one. What type of asset edit? Might do some Blender today if I have time. I'm updating a website and cleaning up all my old files. Cool. So you run a website. Do you have like your own personal business that you run? Or do you maintain and oversee a website for a company as your job? You don't have to answer that if you don't want to. Just let me know that you don't want to answer that. I'm just trying to make some friendly conversation. I'm just super stoked. Got to talk to. So it is the Wave Collapse Funk HDA. Okay. Guess it's gonna do this over and over again. It's fun. It's awesome. It's amazing. So I'm saving this out. When I use the HDA processor here, it's just not working as intended. And I'm honestly confused as to why it's not. You see here, template node. Boom. That is the template. Select input definition. This may cause difference in templates. HDA processor. That's fine. How do you unlock this bad boy? Parameter shown. Save node type. Digital asset. Match current definition. Dive into network. Actions. What's an action? Flags. Because it's rather annoying that we're not seeing this result. Let's dirty and cook the node and see if the result is any different. It should be, right? I mean, we're even getting an update on some of the parameters we've set in here, and it's still not doing the thing. I'm gonna go ahead and make this the processor. Let's check out the work item output or whatever it is, and still, oh, now it works. Awesome. So I guess we have to use that template node. It's probably because in that template node we have some things set. I tried to find a way. I wish someone in Houdini was here that knows Houdini was here. I'm trying to find a way to add that border size to this. Because hey, Pippi, what are you doing in here, you little crackhead? Wow. I'm updating my old portfolio website. I used to do some freelance art, but I don't have time for that now. It still said I am taking work, so I'm changing that and making it look a little better. Little better. Okay, that's cool. Dang, I wish I could. I want to see the portfolio, man. That's sick. Do you not do it anymore just because it's kind of a complicated process, or what? I want to reference a parameter in. I mean, this works perfectly fine. The goal right now, chat, is figuring out how to, like, if we were to edit this, get this in here. I mean, I don't know if I can do that. Right, do that, and then change it that way. And we get a bunch of errors. So what is this size here? We have our range, but we don't really know which channel. Units, length, integer, border size. Like, where's the actual value? Because even in here, we don't have the actual value, right? We just have an HDA parameter, and then we could select something from here to there. You think it would be size, but I don't think it's the size. Channels, right here. Boom. Wing tiles decoder. Okay. Clear, remove, last link in this channel. How do you link this channel, though? You think you could just go like this and be like, boom. Or no, not that per se, right? But if I were to go in here and, you know, go boom. I really don't want to accept that. Let's copy and paste that before we accept that. Boom. I just don't have time anymore. I completely get that. I completely get that. It's very hard to do freelance art for people, especially because of all the revisions that individuals want. Maybe I shouldn't reveal that because it's someone else's work, but I'm creating a logo for a racing training center, right? My buddy's making a racing training center. Grew up doing go-kart and stuff, so I'm making a logo for him. And it's been really nice with him. I like to communicate with my clients like very often and show them iterations, give them multiple stuff, but it still takes a while, you know? But it is very, very difficult. I just want to know how to link this. I mean, even these don't have this little link cartridge here, but what I'm thinking, because essentially I want to take this, right, plug it into here, and then have this value be times 2, because that'll control the border size. Like, for instance, if I were to go like 4 here, you know, it expands in either direction. So I'd like to control that. But I don't know how to reference. Like, I know I can copy and paste a parameter in here or drag and drop it, and they will communicate with one another. Like, I could probably do something like that. No? I know you can drag it in here and set it up that way. Shoot, maybe I could pull this in here and then, yeah, do it like that. But regardless, I don't know. I can share my website in a bit if you want. Not sure where I can post a link though. Well, if you have one of the designer roles, you can post it in what would you consider it? 2D, 3D art? Honestly, I should just make another channel for other. We're gonna do that really quick, by the way. So, you know who I miss? I miss Amin. I miss Amin. Stay Real. Jelly. Where are all the boys and peeps at? Probably busy doing some other stuff. What would you think would be a good emote for others? You know? They're nowhere. Other, I could put food. Let's try other stuff. I don't know, maybe a guy with a monocle. Question mark. We'll do a question mark. Right? Copy and paste that. Other. Because I don't know what other entails. Other. Let's go into the permissions. Mostly 2D, adding some 3D. Well, then, yeah, you can post it in either or. I'm even making an other. I'm making another chat. I also want to create a suggestion for this, just in case someone comes in. But it's a little sad and disheartening to see not many people are communicating, so I think I'm going to have to find a fun way to introduce something of that nature so people feel more inclined to conversate. But yeah, you can view the channel, send message in threads. I don't know. Create public threads, embed links, attach files, add reactions. Yeah. Manage message, read message history. All right, save, boom. And that should be good now. I'll post another. Yeah, let me know if it works. I'm still getting used to the whole Discord thing. But yeah, let's try to get this to work because it would be optimal to have this controlling the size of the border. Right now we're referencing the rows because it's just the rows times, added a margin on top of that. It's essentially going to be the size of whatever this is, plus whatever I have here. So let's see how to add drag parameters here to drag new. Oh. Rows. Okay. Let's see. Because it looks like object wave collapse function dev level wave collapse WFC initialize 3. Why is it initialize 3? That's a little confusing for my brain. Hey, Fabula, how you doing today, my friend? Thank you for joining in and saying hi. What are you up to? Let's see here. So, I just want to link the channel. You think you could just auto scope, auto select, or you could just yeah. I'm gonna Google search this. How to add to a digital asset parameter. Because I know you can just drag and drop this stuff in, but I really want to be able to have two references to the channels here. One for this. You know, you would think that you would just copy this, right? And then you would, in here, instead put, what was it? Border. So that works. Border size. That's interesting. Maybe it's because I've already created that reference. And because of that, it's has that. B from texture, border size. Okay. Channel, guide, selector, attribute, regular, rows. Can we do columns? We can do columns, which is great and all, but I want border size. Why is border size not working? Drop parameters here to add new links. Dude, I just want to add whatever this is into the mix. I just want this to control a very small fraction, not like a full parameter, right? But just one parameter. There's got to be a way. There's got to be a way. By the way, guys, I apologize in advance for like any Owen Wilson wows that I throw out there. I don't know what it is, but that's been my apparently my thing for the last couple of days. So please don't hate me for it. Owen Wilson's cool, you know. He always says, "Wow," and that's how I feel when I get something done. You know, like you do something in here and, you know, you're just like, wow, I did that. That was a me thing. But it doesn't always work, so. For instance, right now we can't get this to work for the life of us. We can do like a hard. Haha, the wow is good. It is good, right? It just brings so much joy to my heart. Like the other day, I don't know what it was, dude. I'm not gonna do that to everyone here, but I watched like a whole collage of just Owen Wilson saying wow, and I was just like, what am I doing with my life? So it'll pass, right? But I just don't know when it'll pass. So please forgive me. But it's good, right? That's a cool thing, I guess. Regardless, we're still trying to figure out how to get this reference in here. I don't want to spend too much time on this. Parameter in digital assets. Houdini. You know, I will say that I really appreciate people making videos for these things, but it's really annoying when I just want to read a quick little article, you know, like something like this, and I have like 5 suggestions for a video. It's like, specifying files inside an asset using opdef. In parameters where you can specify a file path, you can use the following syntax. Shmee. Multi-param instances. There's gotta be. Organizing parameters. Promote a parameter. Make a menu parameter. Let's see. Paste. Include in lock. Unlock. Revert to defaults. More. Paste other. Paste copied expressions. Well, there's got to be a way to do this. Let's get rid of that. Let's go into assets. Let's edit this guy. And by the way, chat, we will be probably making a mock-up at some time here. Just because I feel like I'm spending a little too much time on this, right? Like we have our values here, but I guess those are the values that we're setting in here, and we should clear links from this channel. Reset current link for this channel. Maybe I can't do that. Copy parameter. Wow. Paste copy expressions. It's ridiculous. Paste values. Come on. Paste relevant reference. And if I do it here, paste relevant. Copy parameter. Paste value. Paste relative reference. Paste other. Paste copied values. Why is nothing letting me do that? It's ridiculous. What if I do that here and I go paste value? Paste relative reference. I can do this. I can drag and drop that, or I can drag and... I guess I can't drag and drop that. I can! This is what we get. Root setup border size. There's got to be... Let's delete the channel. Right. Put it back to 20. Come in here. Do a little bit of that. And see what happens, right? It's already thrown errors. It's like, no, you can't do that. So I just think this is an undoable thing. But it feels like it should be doable, which is why I'm having a problem with it. It should definitely be something I can do. I should be able to post multiple things here. It should be a thing. Don't you guys think? I put a 3 here. Everything works fine. It all works. It's all happy. Just a shame I can't set that value. There's got to be some way to do it, though. And this is why I take so long to learn something, because I'm very, like, specific. Like, if I don't figure this out, I'll not be able to sleep at night. How to have multiple parameters in HDA affect a parameter. Boom, 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 boom. Using the file line and the scale stop loop will go over each parameter and get the correct value. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, that didn't help. How to... There's gotta be a way to do it. This is not fair. Oh, man. Houdini. Come on, man. It should be that easy. I should be able to just do that. There's probably a really good reason why that you can't do that, but it's like, man, I should be able to just open the parameter, grab this, whatever, and then add it in here. Root or channel. WFC initialize to, or I guess in this case, ooh. So we can't even do that. And it's only because that we're referencing the initializing aspect within the columns here that's a thing. Once this all gets done, it's going to be great. Everyone's going to love me. Everyone's going to be like, woo, Rowdy. And then I'll be, you know, greatest thing on the planet. Right now, it's just not going to happen. I guess working in Houdini is not as exciting as I thought it would be for viewers. Well, we live and we learn, but sadly, this is still something we have to do. So these all have a reference in their channels to what it is and what this is set as. We can't directly set that. I mean, create, clear. We have clear, we don't have create. Size. Units, integers. There's got to be something. Tags. Main dialogue only. Help. Help. Help me figure out the thing. I would love for that to happen eventually. I guess we'll just have a hard set thing for at the moment. Organize parameters. Use a point weld. Maybe if I copy this, right? Let's just delete it. Let's delete the channel. And then we paste the relative. And what we could do here is just get rid of this. Right? Let's see if we can do it like this. Border size. Why is there two? This is confusing my brain. Column size is okay. All right. Ugh. That's why. Okay, so we have 6 currently. Let's do 12. Right. Let's accept. But as you can see, it takes away from it. So it's, if we don't fix this, it's going to destroy everything. Now, in the parameters, we can do this. Now that we have that set up, we could say ch, whatever this is, right? We'll get that. But we're going to add this, right? Multiplied by this, by 2, right? And boom, it works. It works. Boom. It works. I'm a genius. My brain. It's not that big. It's small. But yeah, that does the trick. Let's go ahead and save the assets that we're currently working on. Asset, save. It's not working, but you know. Asset, save asset. Boom. Let's go ahead and save this out as well. Now we have something that to control the border size of this thing that we're creating. Save node type. And now we have saved the node type. Boom. 6. Or if I change this, right? I should. Why did it not change? This makes me angry. Let's change the parameter names to border size. Space that out. Border size. Accept. And this should update over here on the right as well. And yeah, now we have full control over this. It looks like we can, probably don't want to do that. But yeah, we can control the border size and, you know, cook node. It's a wonderful thing. And every time we choose this and we cook this node, yeah, it cooks all the other nodes. Boom, 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 boom. Check it out. Check it out. However, we're still getting this issue where like one gives me like an infinite amount of that type for some strange reason. And I think it's because, yeah, hold up. Let's cook this node and see why that's happening. We're learning the ins and outs of Houdini. So I know that's a little boring for people, and I apologize if that is the case. But I want to see if, when we view this, if it's really that large. Yeah, it is. Let's try to delete that. Go HDA process, put that here, drag that there. Let us grab this. Let's use the wave collapse in here is that. And for this, let's, yeah, see, the border size can be a lot. So let's go ahead and change that. Not on here. Let's go over here and edit that asset and, you know, really minimize how long or big this border can be, because I don't think it should. I think at the most it could be 10. I'm gonna say it. All right, let's accept. And now we should only have a range between 0 and 10 on this particular parameter here. So we're going to have to reload this, right? HDA process. We're going to plug this in. Wave collapse function. We're going to do this. Okay. Update HDMA parameters. And now, as you can clearly see, we only have access to all these. So let's go ahead and cook the node again and see if it's actually affecting that. I mean, it looks like it. You know, honestly, it probably wasn't affecting it because I have this scene as well. But yeah. Look at that. Now it's just got 2. If we want it to go around 3 times and we cook this, it'll present us with that possibility as well. And I think people don't really respect this type of like modeling creation because they don't understand the power behind it, or they see it but they don't really I don't know, maybe they don't comprehend it as much as they would like to, and therefore it's seen as maybe boring. What the heck? What the heck? 3 should give me 3 rings, not 2. Let's see. Let's bump this up. Yeah. And that looks like it's giving me 3. 2, 3. But we're not seeing that here being displayed. Rather interesting, if you ask me. So on here, in this particular, boom, you go like that, and it'll do that. 3, you know, it updates immediately. On here, it's just acting out of whack. We are, however, getting some results. I'm going to try to cook this all the way down, and then we're going to see if that okay, that does change it. So now we're getting the triangulation. The borders work perfectly, right? We're beveling those out. And then if we were to cook this, right? We were to cook this, now we're getting all this. And we're only getting the area or the areas where we'll need collision on, which is awesome. So I think the best thing to do here now is maybe do a wait for all, because we want all of these things to cook. We want to wait for all these things to cook. Once they've cooked, we can output. We have 2 geometry thingies. We can output that. I don't think we'll need necessarily to generate this node. We'll see how well this works. Cook the node. Now, how do we switch? How do we switch? I know we just don't go 1, 2, 3. Blah. We got to find a way to get all of the outputs. I know that there is a output here. Let's look. Frame. I was gone for a bit. Back now. Thank you for coming back. I appreciate it. No, I appreciate it. Just still trying to figure things out. We figured out how to get the parameter working. So now when I change it, the border size will change. So if we have 3, it'll add essentially 3 rings around the border. So if I added 4, it would add another, 5, another. And that's all interchangeable via a slider that we've placed on the tool, which is excellent. That's exactly what we want. Now I'm trying to see how I can output all of these meshes with one singular output. And I'm checking to see if we even have two. If we click on, let's say here, let's see. But yeah, this is probably going to turn into a night thing. Right? Input operators. We have two input operators. Nice. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, we're not getting two of these. Index, partition by index. So what we do, I think, is we maybe go like this, and then we plug these into here. I'm going to, what is that, alt click this to add a little thingamabob. I don't know. Add a little thingamabob. We're going to cook this now. Yeah, sorry guys. I know this might not be the most exciting thing that you will be seeing here on the channel, but I swear once it starts getting cool, it's got to start looking cool, right? If not, I don't know what I'll do. Partition, geometry, rope fetch, and then we have another one here as well. So we have 38, and we have something else, but we're not seeing that directly here. By index, all, primary input rule, all, merge attributes. We don't want to merge these, right? We simply want to, yeah, see? We're waiting for these. Gosh, it feels like we have 500 lines everywhere. It's starting to drive me insane. We're waiting for all these to cook. Then we're using the amount of these to dictate how many we're going to partition. And I think this is really just merging. I don't want to merge all the files, right? So I might as well just clear that. Let's try cooking this again and see if we get... We don't. Darn it. That is not a wow moment. That's a sad moment. Now we're not even getting anything. And it looks like it's because it's showing this thing through network dot. Let's work item info. Let's go ahead and... Yeah, we can't even see what's going on. In here... Let me use the restroom really quick, guys. Who knows? Maybe my voice isn't... Oh. Whoa. Whoa, whoa, whoa. I feel like that... Maybe we turn the mic down a bit. Because it feels like maybe it might be a little too loud for my taste. I spoke and everything broke. It's crazy. But yeah, we get, looks like we get all the things here. But it's probably just merging them all. I believe this has a merge. Yeah, see, clear, none, no merge. Let's cook this again, save and continue. I think what you do is, yeah, we're not merging, so now it's a little confused on how to handle this. So let's try to cook it like this and see what we get from here. Yeah. It really wants to merge, and if it doesn't merge, right, it just kind of poops. Yeah, see? We get a result immediately after we merge. And while this is interesting, I don't feel like it's giving us the things that we want. Shmee. Makes me feel like we do need 2 outputs on this. But I'd prefer to just have one output that has, it's just less nodes to cook, right? But so far, oh. Maybe it's a sign. It's a sign to stop working on Houdini and start working on whatever. I don't know why every time I open the project for the first time, it's shiny bright. And I think it's because, nope, it's not because of that. Regardless, let's reopen the project again. Yeah, we're going to spend about a week on this, Ria. If we don't get somewhere pretty quickly, I think we're going to just start kind of dabbling in Blender. But I am going to be using the map that we generate from here in Blender to start creating a level. Although I'd prefer to try to do this all in Houdini because I really want to test some functionality with changing the level every time we select play and seeing if that is even a possibility. Like if I can get access to that and change it via the code, then that means, you know, this is something we can do all the time. So yeah, I apologize, everyone. I know this is not the most enthralling thing to watch, if we're going to be honest, right? It's not the most. It's like, hey, look, he's got a bunch of squares. And they're all beveled. We've been looking at this now for a week. Beveled squares. Good job. You know? I completely get it. Cook node. This temp operation failed. Top node output 1 failed to cook. Oh, that's right, because it's output 0. So we gotta go output, boom, and now it's 1. And now we can't cook. And now, yep, hey. But it's like, how do we get these objects? Like when I go to say like file, I'm going to save this. I'm going to save this asset out, right? I'm going to save the asset. And then I go into here. Right now we have this. Let's get rid of the world mesh momentarily, right? Wave collapse function. Let's bring the world mesh back. Let's bring that back. Let's drag and drop, or actually, yeah, I think we just have to rebuild this. And it should all work fine. rebuild, recook. Who knows? Maybe it's gonna be mad at me. Yeah, that should be it. Parameters. No parameters except asset. Save asset. Boom. Hey, Chase. How's it going, my friend? How are you doing today? How's your day been going? What have you been up to? I was wondering when I would see you again. Man, I don't know what it is. But yeah, man, just to give you a quick update, we've added a border to this. I'm doing good. How are you? Excellent. Excellent. We're moving slowly, but surely we are moving. Hopefully tomorrow I'll have a little bit more time to focus on the game, seeing as my kid will be at school. So it's just been really rough with her home because, you know, I have to be a good dad, right? I can't really focus on my game when I'm being a good dad. But yeah, we have a border size. Oh, and on another news, it was my birthday yesterday. Right? It was my birthday. And I had carrot cake. It was awesome. Oh yeah, we have to start the session. That is also something we have to do. I thought it did that automatically. Finish processing outputs. Let's rebuild. Late happy birthday. Thank you. Yeah, I didn't really tell anyone. I don't like telling people when my birthday is on my birthday, but afterwards I'll be like, yeah, my birthday was yesterday. I don't like making a big deal out of it. You know? It's just another day. Just so happens to be the day that I was birthed into this world. So plus, the older you get, man, the worse it gets. It's like every year is like a freaking nail in the coffin. It's like, you know, when you're in your 20s, it's awesome. But eventually, after you get out of that, you're like, oh man, every nail in the coffin until you're like 90 years old, and you're just like, no, not the final nail. And then the nail. Yeah, sorry, it seems a little dramatic. Dramatic. Kind of how I feel. So we can set a lot of collision stuff in here. The only issue that I'm genuinely seeing is that we're not even getting any information, right? We don't have any. I'm not seeing anything in regard to. Why does this keep telling me bad size? What do I? Okay, that was just an error. But regardless, I'm not seeing literally any mesh. And we should see a mesh because, you know, we have this in here. And I think it's maybe we need to set this. Save it. Yeah, I am working on the environment. I am. I'm working on the procedural aspect of it. But we're going to be making a mock-up level out of this here soon. I'll be taking this into Blender and doing some stuff and then eventually incorporate those into here. So it will be nice. I just want to work on this for about a week to see how far I can push this. I know it's not the most exciting thing to watch, but it's definitely cool. In my opinion, there's a lot of power behind it, right? Like the fact that I can change these things on the fly while I'm in the engine and not have to constantly move in between Blender and Unreal. Hopefully, if we get it working correctly, right, you guys will be able to see this stuff and you'll be able to understand, if you don't already, like why it's so powerful. Why it is so strong in the Force. But yeah, so far we have this and we have this. It's now showing. Let's go ahead and save the asset. Ooh. Let's save the asset. Let's go back into Unreal and let's rebuild the asset and see if it's at least showing the things. So it'll be nice. It'll be nice, guys. Hey, there we go. Showing the progress. But that's only when we have the HDA visible. At the moment, we're getting in here output. So I'm assuming, what if I do that? Yeah, it's not found. This one's not found either. Unreal and Blender are our favorite crashing apps. Yes, sir. It's only because they make you so happy on the inside when it happens. And it's typically right when you're about to get the thing you want to happen that it decides to do that. So maybe we just start celebrating those moments. Yeah, it's a crash. Just throw a rave in here. Yeah, I was thinking I would be able. Yeah, see? Recover, merge, da-da-da. It is funny though, isn't it? Man, I really want this to start working. I want to start like just building on it really quick. I'm hoping I get to the point where I get like a moment where everything clicks, and then I'm just able to iterate through this really fast and start generating some really interesting results. But it's going to take a lot of time, which is why we're probably going to create a level out of this. I would like to change maybe the seed, because now that I'm thinking about it, we're not going to really be able to explore. Maybe if I go columns is to the right and left, right? Maybe if I expand this like this, we can get something interesting. Actually, I don't know why I'm doing that here. I can do it all in here. If only this thing would hurry up and I can show you guys. But yeah. Do I even have access to the parameters? I should. Doesn't look like it. That's a problem. That's a problem that we're going to have to fix. Darn it. That would have been so cool. LOD, texture streaming, mobile, ray tracing, asset user group. Probably because I'm not in the top file path. Maybe it's all the way down here. Asset user data. Level instance. Texture streaming! Where is it? Why is it gone? PDG asset link. Houdini output. Houdini methods. Physics. Collision. Yeah, we don't have access to that information, which is relatively annoying. I thought it automatically placed these things in. Like, let's see. Like, I could change this on the fly in here and change things, recook it, and then have something after that. But if we go 32 and I go like recook, we should get something pretty cool, pretty quick. Hopefully, right? Let's not look at that. Look at this. But while we're waiting for that to load, let's come in here and check out why it's not allowing me these things. Show invisible parameters, transform, subnet, input, labels, transforms. You think I'd be able to grab these HDA parameters and have these in here as well. I think for my game, I'm going to try and have pretty advanced AI. Yeah. I mean, if you have combat, you have to have advanced AI nowadays, I think, personally. It just works better like that. And hey, check it out. Look at it. Look at it. And that's another interesting result, is it so it expands it like infinitely left and right, but it doesn't give us the full 3D effect. So maybe we minus the rows from our other calculation. Because right now it's just taking the rows and then multiplying or adding. Yeah, it should just take the rows. Hold up, guys. Let's look at... Actually, I'm not going to try and have combat. Instead, I'm going to have distractions. Okay. What type of distractions are you talking about? Like when you throw a rock and the guy's like, oh, and he goes and looks. And he's like, who threw that rock? How did that rock get here? And then you typically bonk him on the head. It was me the whole time. Mwaha ha 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 ha. Attributes. Here. So we have the rows. That's why. That is why. No, not color. No, not that. What is going on? Polls. Boom. Except that was the issue. Yeah, stuff like throwing bottles or using remotes to turn on TVs or lights, stuff like that. That's pretty cool. That is actually pretty darn cool. Let's see if this generated file update HTML parameters service. Let's recook this, dirty this node, cook the node. That sounds relatively interesting. So are you like sneaking around places and the goal is to not be caught, and once you're caught it's kind of like end game, which I like. I think that's interesting. Most of the time you can flee, or the objective is to run, or you can fight. You're making a horror game, right? Yeah, most of the time they don't give you the options to do that, especially with the horror games they have now, which is cool. I like that idea. I think that's an awesome idea. Now that I think about it. Hey, and we fixed the problem. Good job. Round of applause for everybody. You can go full on stealth or just run for your life. Just don't die. So if you get caught, you die. Is that the implications? What if like the person who catches you just puts you in a room where he makes fun of you for the rest of your life? What if that's the result of being caught? But hey, now we have something like this where we can take, I don't know, like a portion. Shoot. Maybe we have to double this size. We'd have to go 64. But because I feel like we need something even. Right? Maybe under this would be 32. I feel like that's a pretty good roundabout for stuff. Let's go ahead and add that in, guys. First, let's cancel doing that. Let's go back and mess with this a bit. And go into the asset. Let's edit this and change these things here. Let's do 64. Right? And by the way, guys, I'm getting old, so I'm probably gonna use the restroom again. It's the energy drinks, I swear. That would be funny, laugh out loud. Yeah, it would be. And it would be more child friendly. Right? Yeah, my kid was playing Roblox the other day, and she was like laughing and giggling, and I was like, what's so funny? And I look, and she's running away from Peppa Pig with a knife, and Peppa Pig's got blood all over her, and I was like, this isn't right. I thought this was Roblox. That's what happens when old people play Roblox. They start making this stuff, man. Which is fine, but it's like, there's got to be a way to... I think you actually can... We did block that. But my fiance knows how to do all that stuff. One thing I want to have is that AI will remember the stuff you did, all right, to them. So if you do the same trick, they don't investigate that area, which you can use for your advantage or not. True. Or they're less susceptible to those things. So the more you use something, the more of a disadvantage it becomes. And you have to use a variety of things to outsmart them, to throw them off their game, which I really like. You know, it gives you more initiative to use all the tools that you give the player at their disposal, you know? So I think that's a really, really, really cool premise, just so you know. That's just my opinion, though. You can do whatever you want. It's your game, right? But if there was an AI that like remembered the things I did, so I had to be smarter, it makes it so like if I lose, I can't be like, all right, I'm going to go in there, I'm going to throw this thing, and it's going to work this time. I just have to get it at the right time. You know? And it adds a little bit of replayability because then you can, you know, every single time you play the game, it'll be different depending on the items you use. And I'm gonna be right back while this is generating. Hey, baby girl, make sure that's not... Have you played Hello Neighbor before? I've seen my kid play or watch Hello Neighbor. Hello Neighbor, but I've never played it. Is that kind of the premise of the game? If I could ask. Come on, dirty this node. Cook this node. Why is the node taking... It's probably because it's like 64 rows and it's like... What would be nice if I was able to save this result and then just change this below here so it doesn't recalculate this over again. So maybe we might have to get into Vex. That might be something we have to explore. By the way, guys, the last video is doing great. It's actually rather interesting. I kind of put it off, not put it off on a whim, but when I made it, I felt like I was a little corny, and my fiance and me talked about it, and we're like, yeah, well, you should just try to play around and see if people will like it, or like that aspect of it. So that's what I did, and looks like it kind of worked out. So thank you all for watching, subscribing, being a part of the experience, and just being an excellent group of people. I think if we have something as small as this, we might as well just delete it or cut and, you know, do that stuff. Yeah. Did you watch the last one? It was nice, huh? Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm so self-conscious when I put it out. I'm like, oh, are they going to think I'm stupid? Are they going to think I'm dumb? You know? But it's nice to see that people like them. And I think they like how short they are too, which is why I always know that I have a lot of stuff I have to do. And I feel like everyone who's watching these things are people who genuinely like to game develop as well. And like being a game developer, you want to kind of use your time as much to your advantage. So when you have something that's 20 minutes long, it's like, oh, that was intriguing, but you know, now you're out 20 minutes. So I kind of try to keep them. I'm going to try to keep them below 6 to, I want to say 8 minutes, 7 minutes. You know? But yeah, I think 64 is the way to go. But if I'm going to be real, we already had 16 for one. So 16 times 2 is 32. Plus another 16. What is that? 40, 48. So maybe we went a little like crazy with this. But yeah. Okay. I guess it's already viewed. Nice. So I think this is a good amount for a level. But yeah, we really need to find a way to track these open areas. As long as it's not a 0, it's not closed. So I'm assuming we can find a way to do that. But you know, like I want you guys to envision you know, something from here, like every 16 rows, there's going to be a different element or a different, what's the word? Essentially, underground, there's going to be 3 states. There's going to be like an airy state, ground state, underground state. You know, each state will have its own elements to provide to the player that they can use, you know. That they can use for their little city. but I really want to find a way to carve out these areas. So with that being said, now that we have these little things working, let's hop into a tutorial. Tutorial. All right, let's go ahead and close that out and let's start watching this, guys. Let's learn together.
Video about wave function collapse. So in this video, we're going
I mean, look at this, guys. This just shows, like, this is showing how extremely powerful this tool is and, like, how I can use it, or you could use it if you got it, to,
this video, we're going
you know, without hard coding all this procedural generation stuff, right? I could potentially go in, create my own procedural generation, but if it's one thing I learned in school, if there's something that's not broke, don't fix it. My teacher always emphasized, like, if you have an engine with a character movement script in it, use that and just manipulate that until you get something that you like, right? So with that being said, if there is a tool out there that you can afford that'll give you the results you need for your project, then just go ahead and do it, right? I still recommend for your projects to create your own assets, because it really will give you a respect for, you know, people that you'll possibly hire in the future, right? That fill those roles, and it'll help you to understand, you know, the limitations of those roles as well. You know, so you're not throwing these crazy ideas at them. You know, there's an alien that's going to come from the sky, and when it comes from the, you know, you basically do almost anything now, but you get the point, right?
building this generator
so yeah,
here in the real. So
that's why I do it.
See here can also be done in Unity as well. In this case, we just use Unreal for demonstration. So in here, I just have a little level generator.
So just so you guys know, like he said, this can also be done in Unity, right? But he's just using Unreal for demonstration purposes.
Here is then being procedurally placed for you, and then we can just have some variations if we want to. And of course, we can also play this. So automatically the navigation is being calculated here in Unreal, and then we have some enemies coming for you.
Team Unreal. So, yes, I love Unreal. Unreal is an excellent engine, and just like every other engine, there's gonna be little issues with it, you know. But I've used Unity, I've used Unreal, I've used Game Maker, very shortly and briefly though, and that's it. And from my experience with Unity and Unreal, I just like Unreal a little bit more. There's more power in the engine, it feels like, from what I've experienced. So that's my opinion. Ria says, I tried to add a link in the other section of Discord, but it said I didn't have permission. Here, let me go ahead and try to edit those permissions for you. Boom, boom. Oh, that is why. What is it? Permissions not synced. Yeah, sync permissions. Add roles, developer, artist. I apologize for this, by the way. It should just work. I'm still learning how to use this, so like I said, I apologize. I don't like this being so over convoluted, but it kind of is at the moment. And hopefully one day it isn't. I'm going to make it so members can view, not create, send messages, embed links, they can attach files, add reactions, not use external emojis because you never know what emojis will pop up, manage the messages, read message history, and that's it. Boom. Try now for me, Ria, and let me know if it works. If it doesn't, I'll be sad. All right, private role. Add members or roles. Who can access this channel? Hold up. One uno momento. It says add members or roles. That shouldn't be the case. That's interesting. So in here, you set the permissions, you set it to private, but we also have added roles in here so people can access these. So why he does that, I don't know, but let's kind of go ahead and do what he's done. Developers, artists, musician, game testers. I think that's it. Boom. And that should work. If not, let me know. Let me know.
And in here, we're going to use the wave function collect nodes. So I want a grid. And I also
So we already know this.
main solver size. In my pad, we plug the
So in this, he's going to essentially use he's going to create that lava that you saw. And by the way he does it is he's creates another grid, kind of like what I've done, but he essentially transfers the attribute with another name and then blasts that from these points.
And let's also quickly test this. And I'm just going to blast away based on this. So add lava layout.
That's how you add it. I was over here trying to type in just not lava layout, but what I had.
So if the lava layout is equal to 1 and look into the points, then this piece is being
looks like you're typing.
You can see that is that piece. So that's pretty close in what
I'm more interested to see how he gets like a variety
can then be the
of things with this in particular.
So the main idea is that we just have this information here as well. What I also want to do
Does it still not work, Ria?
Around my level.
Let me post a link.
I just viewed it over here.
Let me try. You know, I could try to start posting links in here too to see if they work for me, but I feel like they'll automatically work for me because I am the admin of the channel. Like that worked fine for me, right? If you can't do it, just do it in the 3D or 2D art. I've kind of mimicked what he's done here. And I've even synced these, sync permissions. Never mind. All that just got messed up because I did a thing. Well, let me close this door. My little brother's down there playing, and I can hear him screaming like a madman. Bye, Judah. Developers, artists, musicians, game testers. I think that's it. Him and myself in particular. Boop-a-doop-boo. Where am I at? I don't know. Jesus, why can't I find me? Why can't I find me? Whatever. Let's add all those. Save. Exit. Yeah.
I would like to have a big border around the level. You can see that by default the wang nodes.
So he does a border, but I do it a little bit differently than he does. I saw the way he did it and I was like, can't you do it like this? That's how I go about learning how to use software. I'll watch a tutorial and be like, can't you do it this way? And then I'll try it, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, I'm like, okay, I guess you can only do it this way.
And set this to Y.
But yeah, he creates it by essentially creating a border that inherits from that entire size. He thickens this,
then I want thickness. So
and then he
and
grabs these outer
give this
layers,
border,
which I'm not a big fan of.
A point group.
It's a little different for our game as well too, because in our game, you know, potentially, you know, the character could be, let's see, right here. Honestly, we might only need one, but you know, they can run up to here, and yeah, they probably only need one. But regardless, it's nice to have the ability to have those things. Just in case you need them. You never know if you'll need it. But yeah, let's go back to the video.
We're then gonna save here bounding box and use the bounding box object, which means using this second input. And you can see that we have now procedurally selected this bound. So all these dots are now being selected.
I don't think
now
that's
from
procedural.
here, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use a
I guess it is, because it's dependent off of,
and everything that is in the border can then be of a specific color. So in this case, I'm coloring them white. So you can see the before. So here before we had some of these dots over here, which are these drawing nodes, which are these models. And now they have this border now. Now from here, I'm gonna group this as well.
I want to see, I never saw this bar.
And now I can use a Wang node. And this is the one used to calculate.
So he has to use that node now, because that's going to calculate the tiles in there. It's based off of colors, right? So now it's going to calculate the corners, and it's going to name things.
Here.
So.
And you can see that now I have a border for my level. Also make sure that the rows and columns are always...
Looks like it worked. Sweet. Let's check it out. Let us check it out. Welcome. Thank you for taking the time to look around. Moment. That's so cool that you have this. My portrait work. Wow, you're an amazing artist. Holy heck. This is all beautiful stuff. That is really good. Oh, I love pug. Was that that's not a pug. That's not a pit bull either. It's a boxer. Is that a boxer? Don't be mad at me if I got it wrong. I like this picture. Very beautiful stuff. Yeah, it is very good work. Portrait painting process, quick sample of what to expect from a sketch to final. Final, Final. Having a good reference image will have a large impact on final results. I really like how you added this into the mix, and I like the little details here. Really cool stuff. About. Here's the great and wonderful Rhea. If people want to go and read the biography, they can, but I don't want to like put that on here because I don't know if you want that. And they can actually like these pictures. That's so cool. And you did all this with Wix? Check out mine. I'll show you guys later. This is really good. Holy crap. The parakeet. Probably got it wrong. Illustrations. I like this one a lot. Hey, he's sick, dude. Look at him. He's got the stash. He reminds me of my little doggy. Let's go. I like the dragons too. El Dragos. Great work. I like this too. Did you do this? That's really cool. I can never figure out landscapes. I can never figure out landscapes. I would show you guys, but I don't want you to laugh at me. Hey, so you're showing the work. See, I told you everybody loves this one. Look at that. That's such like an ingenious design. Low key. That is an ingenious design. And just how everything's so soft and crisp, it just works really well. I do like the I like this too. I can click the like buttons, guys. Yeah, make sure to go over here and check out Maria White, Ria. Very pretty name. And go and like all the things too, because these are all really good and deserve all the likes and hearts. Yeah, there's something about this picture. You really nailed it, honestly. And you can find that in the other section. But I'm going to go and like all these. I still like these little ones too. They're really cute. Oh, I can't like these ones though. Oh, wait, can we? Yeah, it's just hard to see them. Or it took a while to load. One of the two. But yeah, this is a really, really cool website. It's crazy that Wix allows you to do so much of this. Yeah, mine is hold up, let's sorry, I had a Zoom meeting earlier with my mentor. Yeah, Nazareth Studios.net. Yeah, I have to update this still. Right? You have our mission. You can go to the projects, or you can click here. Kind of goes over the development tools, future news, recent devlogs, yada yada. I definitely gotta add Judah and friends in here. I got so much stuff to do. It's something I'd have to do on the weekend. But you can reach socials from here, you know. So if you ever want to come by, see the socials as well. That is an option. You can also go and follow me on Instagram or on Twitter. I do have another Instagram I made forever ago, like Nazareth Studios, but I have to go through that one and unfollow a bunch of people. When I was younger, I did this like little I signed up on this website and it just made me follow a ton of people that like I'm looking through my thing and I have to unfollow all of them cuz I'm like this isn't Christianly. So, that is the primary one. Yeah, no problem, Ria. And it's easy when you have good work, right? So it's not like you didn't do anything to influence that. Cool, I'll check out your website.
It's also very important to do.
I made it.
And also the rank tile works on color, so keep that in mind. That
It's not it needs a lot of work. Like I'm going to be real. It's not at a state that I'm happy with. I like parallax designs. So when you're moving around, things are moving around with you. It just feels more organic, wavy, and it just has a nice feel to it. But I don't have the time to do that.
What changes to this stuff. Now the next step I want to do is I want to delete the pieces that are not connected to each other.
Yeah.
If I want to play this game, I can walk around in here, I can walk, but in here in these pieces, they are not really doing anything for the level. They are just there, but
Nice. So we can figure out how to do this right now.
so you can either make a system to add bridges, or you can also make a system to then delete these these smaller chunks that are.
I would like to add a system
So
to open those
this
areas
will
up.
be
Or depending on the size, right? Like if we have like if this is a room this big, let's go ahead and give the player access to that, right? But if it's this big, you know, or we could essentially get area sizes. And if they're like too small, like if this is 1 square, it's like whatever. Or we could add this as a place where people can get loot or something like that.
points and copy a grid on these points. So from the Wang decoder, let's plug that in over here. Also, again, make sure you set the scale here to 1. And now we have this grid. Now
Okay.
in this grid, we also have still our lava layout and our name attributes, so I can use these attributes in a blast node. And in here I can then, for example, say add name. If it's, for example, equal to 0, delete them. Also make sure you are in point groups, and now it's deleting all the pieces that are these chunks over here.
And that's how you would get
Number 0, which were just like empty space. Then from here we can then use the extract silhouette. So use
nice.
And we have to set this to the y-axis.
Okay.
So it's getting the silhouette from these pieces. Now from here we can then also use delete small parts. And in this node we have an option to only extract a large piece. And this is what I'm actually looking for, because the largest piece will be the most playable area. So I'm going to use the ticker node here again, and again set this to, for example, 50. 50 was maybe too much, so in this case 10, and use this with a group. Just like before, we're going to use the bounding option, so make sure this is in the second input. Set this to points, and this is, for example, name big.
This is kind of big brain stuff. Well, not really big brain, but.
And then we use the bounding region again. Set this to bounding object, so it uses the input, and now all these points that are selected are my main playable area. Now from here I can just, for example, place down a wrangle node, and we can use the group big area that we just made, and
I like his name, big area,
an exclamation mark, and I can say here at name group is now 0. So basically what I'm saying here, that if my point is not in the big area group, it can then be changed to name 0, which will mean this empty space. So if I would change this over here,
okay,
filtered out these parts as well with this wrangle. So this is then over here another system finished. So let's wrap that up in a frame as well.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna have to learn Vex. I was like doing a little bit of Vex stuff earlier, which is like what that attribute wrangler's for. Like if you come in here and look at, you know, Vex expression, Vexpression, what do you call it?
So from here, our basic layout, our basic setup is actually almost done. So I have everything ready to use in Game Engine. Only thing now that I want to do is to start using the instancing. What I will do first is using a blast node. And with this blast node, I'm actually going to delete all the empty spaces. So again, here at name, if it's equal to 0, just delete them. So set this to points. All these empty spaces are now being deleted. So this is then the result without empty spaces. Now further from here, we can then do a split node and split between if it's in lava space or if it's just on the normal space. So we're gonna use the lava layout. So at lava layout
underscore layout.
It's equal to the 0, 0, 0. Then want to split them up. So make sure again set this to point, and now we have this result. Now from here we're gonna set up Unreal instances. So what I normally would do is create an attribute and plug this in over here, and then set here type in Unreal instance.
It's about learning how to get things to work in between each other.
Path to the model to use. But in this case, since we are using the rank tiles, we are having 47 different possibilities. So that means that we either have to use this 47 times this node, or we can do something a little bit different. We can use the value replace. So over here, I'm gonna plug in the rank tile sample in the value replace node, and then press initialize values. So you might get an error, and the reason why is because name is not available.
Mm-hmm.
So that means that name is actually stored in primitive. So I'm gonna have to do a promotion. So promote attribute, and from primitive to points. So name has to be changed to points. And now when I press initialize, I will have these 47 different possibilities of tile sets, as you can see over here.
That's cool.
So these are all the possibilities you need to set up. So
And interesting.
over here, and we need to set this up. Also here, we also need to rename the attribute because we are working with Unreal. So let's change this to Unreal Instance. If you're working with Unity, you're gonna have to, of course, change this to Unity instancing.
So it's dependent on a string name?
Use the default value. So now let's also use the default value. So if I would type in here a path and then press initialize, we have automatically changed everything to the value called path. You can also see this if you open the attribute here. We have changed the Unreal instance to path.
Okay.
Now most of my points here will actually be a floor. So what I can do is I can give in my path to the floor, and then automatically everything has been assigned to floor, and then I can manually change some of these paths to what they should be. So going into Unreal, I have here my models. So they are all in blueprints now because they are sort of like my prefabs and easy to change. And I'm going to use my floor model and copy this everywhere now. So in here, main floor, I'm going to right click, copy reference, and use this in Houdini. So I'm going to copy this.
I prefer if I could do it in the
and
tool.
press initialize, and everywhere I have now set up this value. Now also here again, I want to mention that these numbers are not random. They are coming from the blob tile set, which is used in the Wang nodes, and each number has then its piece. So if you would double check, for example, number 7, then I would know that number 7 is here, this piece here. So each number has its very specific direction. So it's very useful to have this information. So we're gonna have to set up these to the right blueprint or models, and this might take some time. So I might skip this part. So now it's set up. I have also not support for all pieces for most of them, but that's why I filled in this default value that if there would be a piece missing, just use my floor model. So these can then be merged together. And one more thing I want to do here is if I would check my output is I don't have any normal. And most of the time that's quite important to set up a normal. So let's create an attribute here and just call it n from normal. And a normal has 3 values, and I'm gonna leave it like 0, 0, 0. Now we are ready to make a digital asset from this. So I'm gonna select the system that I just made.
Just so you know, if I don't talk for a while, I'm just working on my game, but still listening to the stream. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. That's kind of what I hope for. You know, because I got to get stuff done too. So it's kind of hard to always want to like engage and stuff because you get it, right? You're a game developer trying to get stuff done. But yeah, I just appreciate you being here, man. So thank you for letting me know
the rows and the columns of
that you didn't leave me in the dust.
Also, most of the best results you will get out of a square shape. Then also interesting here is the seed. And
yeah, we've done
seed for the playable area, so player layout. Then I'm gonna go over here to where I have my lava, and I'm gonna use this seed as well, and then seed for the lava. So I'm gonna press apply, and this will pop up green. It means it's linked. And these values, these rows and columns, I'm gonna make sure to link them to the Wang tile I used here, so they are consistently used. So rows and here the columns. So these are
Man, if I just kept watching a little bit, I would have found that out a lot easier.
now you can expose more values if you want to, but with this we can already change the size, and also we have some seed values. What you can also expose is, for example, the image you're using.
Mm-hmm.
So you can just drag and drop this also here, and you can fill in a
Which is what we've
file
done, chat.
in Unreal itself. So you can quickly change this.
I'm ahead of the
I
curve
changed
on
that
this,
itself.
boys
Also,
and
what I have
girls.
to do here before testing in Unreal is using a output. So this is just to make sure that I'm always outputting this result. So let's then save this and test this in Unreal. So here in Unreal, let's grab my H2A, drag drop it in the scene, and after a moment it will then load in my level.
How did he do that? How'd he do that? That's not how he did it. He said, look, chat, there's no way. He's not talking about how he gets that variation. There's no way. I mean, look at this. He goes in and he copies one file. You could see all the different type of floors in here. And he copies one main floor. You can see we have other floors. And how does he get that variation?
Putting this result. So let's then save this and test this in Unreal.
All right,
what I want to do here before testing in Unreal is using a output. So this is just to make sure
that we're
outputting this result.
Okay.
So let's then save this and test this in Unreal.
And he just tries to tell me he pulls it in and it gets all those actors. That's a lie.
And after a moment,
he's lying.
My level.
I am very salted right now. There's no way that's how easy it is.
You can see it's working. So I have my.
Hey Artem, how's it going? And it's going good. Just trying to navigate Houdini. You know, so far, you know, we have the borders. We're looking at how to delete these small little parts, or maybe even possibly carving into them. But yeah, that's about it. It is Unreal 4, so some stuff is different. True, but he copied the path in UE4, right? He copied the path into that, right? Just one singular path. And he's getting all these variations. There's no way.
Continue building walls. There was one small thing I needed to do to make this work. In Houdini over here, I had to use an attribute delete and delete the transform attribute because this was conflicting with my instancing. So in here,
maybe he's creating as prefabs and dragging it in. Yeah, that's essentially what he does. Let me show you Artem. So he goes in, he finds his floor.
Blueprints now because they are sort of like my prefabs.
And he copies the path for that blueprint.
I'm going to use my
so when he imports the HDA or the Houdini digital asset in here, it automatically loads that path in to whatever the tile set is equal, that he wants that to be equal to, right? But then he brings it in and it's automatically set to everything, which indicates to me that he went in and hand placed all of these. But it's like there's a ton of variation, it looks like, even in some of these tiles. So it's like, how does he get the variation in tiles, right? Because this is all one piece. I guess you could say it's different because, yeah. All right, I figured it out now. Check the comments. They might have an answer. Oh, this is all on Bloop. Maybe if I don't know. I know that there's no.
Playable area, so player.
I think it's on YouTube too, so maybe we go in and look after this.
It's working. So I have my main layout, and where I have no walls will be then the lava, and where I have my walls, it will continue.
And his hallways are bridges. Okay.
One small thing I needed to do to make this work.
You had to delete the transform.
I had to use an attribute delete and delete the transform attribute because this was conflicting with my instancing. So in here, let's just quickly test out what I'm having now. So let's change, for example, the player seat. So, and as you can see now, I have my new layout. Also, if you have set up a,
Look how powerful that is.
it will also calculate the navigation. Then we can also here play around with that lava seed. Then it will keep the player layout, but it will move some of these walls and basements. So that means that my lava will be over here and not over the other levels. So that could be really cool as well. So from here we can just make it bigger, keep changing the seat.
But how do we get a variation? Like, I want to have a wall type, right? But multiple different wall types for that situation. And maybe it just randomly, I don't know if I want it to randomly grab one or to sample the other tiles in the area and grab one. Right? So it's like, how do you go about creating logic for that? Is that something I'm going to have to write particularly in C++ and like get access to this HDA? Can I get access to an HDA in C++? That's the real question. I think you can.
Bigger, so
I mean, big games like Crash Bandicoot for the mobile device did it.
then in the next videos, I'm gonna.
So there's got to be a way to do it. There's got to be a way.
Now I just have a basic setup with my base layout.
All right, let's finish this little tutorial. Add walls and cliffs. Okay, so maybe he talks about variations here.
Systems and lava systems for our level. So here is
maybe every time he drags in, it follows a path and creates automatic and new variation. True. I know if we were to create, I don't know, a procedural, if we created like a procedural asset for each one of these tiles in here, which would probably take forever, essentially you could get that form of variation really quick, right? But it's going to be about figuring out how to get this all to work the way we want it to work. But I think before we do anything with creating the geometry for the level, or even creating, because right now we're doing this all through tops, and don't worry about those errors. They're lying, chat. They're lying. But specifically speaking, I think before we go and do any of these, what we need to do, you can see how we're creating a collision. By the way, it reminds me of procedural dungeon generations. Yeah, it's essentially that. That's what it is. Let's get rid of this. Select this. I don't know why things are being so complicated right now. There we go. So we need to delete the small parts and create these parts like in between, like carve out something in here randomly between boom, boom, right? So let's finish these tutorials and then I'll just have to off stream go and do all this stuff. And then I'll show you guys tomorrow
here start from this network,
what we've accumulated.
this wrangle.
But I think we're going to have to,
What I want to do is
I think what we're going to end up doing is creating a solid base for like a level design, and then make a mock-up, or take that, create a mock-up level where people can play it and test it, and we can get things like picking up material, extracting material from the elements in the world, right? And then, that way we could start moving in between the levels, start creating the design for the other scenes in the movement, so on and so forth. And then while that's going on, I can try to work on the procedural aspect on the side and get that implemented. But, I also want to try to get a Kickstarter going so we can have some funds for the game, so I can probably hire out some artists or programmers such of the nature, right? Get some people working on the game, even if it's little like jobs here and there. But, with that being said, it involves probably, I want to at least wait until I have a bigger following, because the chances are a lot higher So we're far off from that right now, but
Might skip
we're on our way, chat.
by one
That being said, make sure to like, subscribe
as well.
to the channel,
So now we
and
have,
share with your friends and your family.
what can also be interesting.
Let them know what we're doing here on the channel,
Rank
right?
Further, and we can enable keep color. So we transfer this color. That could be interesting, so we can visualize more what's going on. Or another way is you could use the color node, and in the color node itself we have an option for random from attributes. So when you do this, we can fill in here our random name, and now we have visualized what's going on with the rank tiles here. So it can be useful, so it's very visual what's going on. Now with this information here, this is then very useful. Like we can filter out where empty spaces are, we can filter out where connections are, where the corners are.
Gosh, it's so hard to cover my nose when I sneeze in here because I gotta like reach around this mic. It's like an obstacle.
Here,
I feel like I unhinge my shoulder every time.
And again here I want to split based on when there is a lava part or not.
Yeah.
Might as well go here.
I mean, in Unity, you have resource files that will read the path and take it, and you can constantly change the 3D files, and it still generates the 3D file. I don't know Unreal, but maybe it will help. Yeah, it's what he does in that one. So anytime, like if I were to make a blueprint in here, I don't know, let me just look at a blueprint. You know, this fish. Anytime I change this, it's in here, it's going to change out here, right? So the idea is that we create a ton of assets in here. And I mean, I've already kind of created my own tile set for this, and I did it manually via Blender by just creating the tile sets, right? I'm importing a file. He's using, he is using Unreal and the prefabs and the path system to achieve what he wants, which is probably what I should do. It might be a little bit quicker and less chaotic, but here I'm inputting my own geometry, and the thing that allows me to do this is that when you're creating a WFC initializing, you know, decoding it and stuff like that, it names these particular parts. And let's go ahead and just look at this really quick so you get a better idea of what I'm talking about. That ain't it. Where is it? It's right here. Yeah, so you can kind of get a better idea. But in here, it'll essentially create a tile off of this, and then it's going to go ahead when you decode, right? And it's going to name each one of these little pieces. Let's see if I can figure out where that happens at, because you can't really see it here for some strange reason. That name. Why is it not showing? Why is it not showing? Regardless, so in here, it gets these points that are in the center, and then it names them. Certain things. Why it's not showing, I don't know. It could be because I'm not doing that. I don't know. Is that it? Decode it. Let me do this. It'll work beforehand. At name. Something we're already doing, and it's not working for some weird reason. It's probably because it's locked. But the point is that it takes these and it puts a name to each one of these tile sets. So in Blender, I just literally went in, made a tile set that accommodates those particular instances, and then I changed the name to them. So it just, whenever that name pops up, it'll place the tile I've created in that area. So we might use the path system, but yeah, I don't know. We'll see what we do. Right now, I'm just trying to figure out how he gets the variation. Because to me, it's like you can only name a tile 0. So like if I were to do it, it'd be like, if it's 0, randomly choose, or, you know, you could also you know, sample the other tiles around it. So it's like maybe a gradient of tiles so they blend together, right? But regardless, in my head, it's just like if you have something based off of this system and you want to influence that system, you have to write some code that's like if the name equals this, then select a tile from this array of tiles, right? Which might hmm, hmm which means I might have to procedurally generate that too. I don't know. All I know is I got to find a way to incorporate this, but make it so it can run on mobile without taking a dump on you guys, or on a tablet without taking a dump.
Paste
Right.
this
It's a thing.
over
It's going to be a thing,
so this the point,
but it'll be a while to get to that point.
the part with the lava and without. So we can change that easily. Now from here I want to actually use these empty spaces, and one thing that I might want to change is that I want to continue the empty space here as well, even though it's in lava or not. And in here I also want to include the border information, so we made that earlier, so I'm just gonna click it and we have the border here as well.
Okay.
Now further from here, let's just use a blast node. And
So in this particular tutorial, he's going to be creating what, mountain or walls and
equal,
what is it, mountains?
example 0.
So like in the lava areas, it'll have like the mountains and stuff, or the cliffs.
So if I would inverse it now, we have all these spaces. Now these parts, I want to fuse them together because they're not connected right now, and now they're fused, they will be connected. Then transform this place. So I'm gonna move this up. I have my modular models
Okay.
being placed over here, and I want to just move them up. And I think in my case it's something around 3.5 that I have to move them up. And from here we can...
By the way, I apologize for my daughter in the background. She's being rowdy. It's fine though.
Like so. And now we have created this space. We can also, for example, here close the back.
What?
Like it's closed. We can also clean up the shape. Like right now, we have all these squares. We can clean up the shape by using the flatten edges dissolving. So if you plug that in, you now have cleaned up that shape as well. So it can be useful to then get a lower poly count there. Then further from here, what we can do is we can set up an Unreal material.
That's interesting.
So we're gonna have to set in the path. So you can go into Unreal, right click to get the copy reference, and paste the reference in here. Then also further down, if you want to unwrap it, you can, for example, do a simple projection, UV project. So in this case, I'm not really going to unwrap it for my game, it's not needed, but if you want to unwrap it, there are multiple ways of doing this. Now I just want to merge my geometry with my instances. And for this, I'm going to create two merge nodes. So I have a merge node here and here.
Thank you for the idea, by the way, Artem.
Take care of instances, so I will name this also.
It does help.
And
It's just there's a lot involved.
Geometry. And these then are the output. So it's important to keep them separate and structured. So either you keep them separate in here, or you can also have different networks over here in object mode. But if you want to keep everything in sub level, then separate them is recommended. So I'm going to plug in this over here and that. And that's also a frame around this.
So why is he spawning the things underneath the things?
Geometry. So then we have to take the other input. And from here, I'm going to use something very similar like I did here. So I'm going to copy this blast node, change the input. Now we have these pieces.
Which is the lava.
Maybe let's also place a null node here so it's easy to visualize them. What I also want to have lava is when I have a bridge. So for example, here I would have a bridge and there would still be lava underneath it. So I'm also going to have to include this information of these pieces.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're not sure which number this is, we can always start to double check them. So in here I need the information of these pieces. So these are number 90, and a bridge is
Oh my!
86. So in this blast node, I'm going to copy this name, and we're going to continue with then number 86, and the other number is then 17. So again, now I can point out to this tile set here, this image. So number 17 and 86 were like these straight
68,
pieces, which I used for a bridge. Then fusing these parts together, they're one big piece. You can see the color is getting merged, and use the dissolving edges again. So dissolve, and from here we can then just use a transform and decide how deep the lava should go. So this would be the level the player plays on, and then we can decide how far it should go. And I think something like -10 would be okay. Now again, here we can use the Unreal material, and also we can do some UV projection on this here as well, and that would be finished then. And put a frame around it, and plug this in with the geometry. Now I'm going to quickly start up Unreal and set up some of these material instances, and then test it out in Unreal as well in how everything is looking. So here in Unreal we have our materials, and I'm going to grab some of these materials and link them to my attributes.
Okay.
So here I have my lava. I'm going to right click, copy reference, jump back in Houdini and paste the reference here in the path. And I'm going to do the same here for my walls here. So after that is set up, I'm going to save the asset and regenerate them in Unreal.
But how do you
Simply
set that?
click rebuild and wait a moment. And as you can see now, we have these walls placed around my level, and I have also some of that basic lava laying around. Then there are a few things I want to add here. So I want to use these walls that I have and copy them here along this empty space here, so it's nicely closed space. And I also want to have rocks here at the bottom, which I also have a prefab for. So let's start with creating walls around it. And I'm going to start here from the first output from the split again, and I will be fusing it. So click here. Might as well take this on the side here for a moment. So we have this result is fused together. Then after that I'm going to use the dissolve edges again. So put them over here. And what is interesting here now is that the second slider is tolerance, and if I put it down to 0, we still have these points on the edge, which can be quite interesting in this case to use. So for example, each point would then be presenting a wall. So we can copy a wall here along this line. So what I'm going to do is, using a poly extrude, I'm going to extrude this a little bit. So 5.
Okay.
And the reason why I'm extruding 5 is because I know one line length is 5, because my basic input was 1 by 1 and I just multiplied it by 5. So it's a nice square here. We can also remove the top, so we only have these primitives on the side. Then using face it, and in here we're going to check ununique points. So basically all primitives are now separate, so they are not connected to each other. Then I want to use the primitive node itself, and in here we're going to enable do transform, and we're going to set the scale to 0. Then you can see that the primitives are scaling by itself. So if we would set them 0 and 0, 0, we now have these points. Now important here also is the normal direction. So we need to have a normal where the model should face. So actually before I did face it, Let's also add here a normal attribute.
Why does he just create a
Just
point at
normal.
the center of those?
So now we have these normals, and here in the primitive, we then remove this over here, so it keeps the normal information. And modular wall will then follow the normal line when it's getting copied. Then again, I want to fuse them together because there are a lot of overlapping points on each other. So I'm going to fuse it. And in the fuse, disable remove repeated vertices and also disable recalculate normals. So it keeps the normal information.
That's interesting though. So he just eventually created points.
Here, we're going to have one.
He's going to promote to points, right?
So if I place walls along all these sides, what would happen if there was a door here or a bridge or another room? So it would just keep placing walls. So I'm going to have to filter out some of these points that are not supposed to be there. So if I have a door, I want to delete the point. Then over here, let's grab this blast node here and copy paste this over here. We can then see that, for example, here there should not be points because we will have an opening so the player can walk to these spaces. So let's use this information and fuse this. Then using the dissolve edges again. Then I'm going to extrude the shape.
This is all big brain stuff.
And also
Chat.
extrude this by 5.
This is crazy.
Size 5. And I'm going to do another extrude, so I can just copy this extrude. And lowering this distance, of course. So you can see that this is extruding the whole area. And now I want to use this in a group node. So group, and use this here in the bounding options. So let's say points to keep. So I'm going to make sure these are then the final points. And let's use here bounding region, use the bounding object, so the second input.
That's a smart way to do it.
And now all the points that are being selected are then the points that a wall can be placed. So that's just a little cleanup there. So from here we do, of course, the blast node. So we're going to delete the unnecessary points, so points to keep.
And then delete non-select again.
Then set up an instancing. So first of all, I'd like to also use an add node and enable the delete geometry but key points. This is sometimes I use this to be sure I don't have any other random geometry. I only want points as output. Then I'm going to use a attribute create, and in here I'm going to call this Unreal instance. And going to make sure setting it to a string and then fill in the path. So in here in Unreal, I'm going to go to my prefab, and here right click again, copy a reference and use this in Houdini. So
I like that he's actually going and showing this
instance. So let's connect this with the instance attributes here.
Okay.
So that is set up. Let's also adding a frame. So these are then the wall parts.
And then he's going to use...
Then here for the lava, I want to add some rocks at the bottom. So we're going to use this information now. And I actually want to start very similar here. So maybe I'm going to put this up higher and go from here. So from this information,
you gotta
place down a extrude node. So let's use an extrude. And in this extrude node, I'm going to set the distance to -5. So I'm going to again create a square shape. Then I also want to restore some of these lines that were equally dividing the spaces. So either you could use a resample here. And then you see we have these spaces, so we could resample, for example, on 5. Then we have restored these spaces. You can also take resample by polygon edge, can be useful.
Okay.
Another way to do this is, for example, after the extrude node, you can use the divide node. And in here, what we're going to do is use the breaker polygon feature. So we're not going to use the convex polygons, but the breaker polygon, and set this to 5 5, 5. And you can see that we basically then have the same result.
All right.
So that can also be useful. In this case, I might as well also disable the output front. So only have the sides, because the rocks will be placed along the sides. And from this point, I'm actually going to do a very similar system that I did over here with the face node and the primitive. So I'm going to just grab these and copy paste it over here. So what will happen is that then each primitive is then one point, which has also the normal direction. And then again, I want to copy the instancing, so I'm going to add and then attribute instance.
That's one way to
And
reuse
in
your
here,
nodes.
I'm going to go grab in my pad. So that is also done. So adding a frame here. And this can then be connected here with the instances as well. So let's just save this and test this in game. Now I've rebuilt my tool, and we can see that we have walls placed around here on the side, so that's really nice done. And we also have here at the bottom these cliffs.
With the lava. So the lava is just a plain, okay.
Prefabs or blueprints in this case. I also noticed that there are some cases where the tool is not filling up nicely, and I'm guessing I have not set up all the rank tiles properly, so I might missed a few, but overall it's giving us a quite nice result. So in this case we can still play around with the seed, so if you want a new layout for our level, you can just drag the slider, and then in a few moments later we're gonna have a new level. So as you see here. So overall the tool is doing a nice job, only need to just quickly go to the rank tile set and fix that issue. So now in here I fixed the issue with the rank tile set, so I just missed one piece and then it just showed up empty. So now that's in order.
I would like to see how he debugged that.
For this video, we polished it a bit more, so we placed some walls.
So there's a lot of, it can get confusing. I'll say that much. But let's see how I'm thinking he's going to use the silhouette to place props. That's what I'm guessing. But we'll see what he does.
To get started,
After this, I'll be closing the stream. I'm going to work on this a little bit off stream, just so I can see if I can kind of figure it out or do something similar. But for our case scenario,
pillars. To start, I'm going to go back here where I created this copy 2 points.
Because at the end of the day, the difference is that he's filling up slots and creating depth so the player can go down. But for us, you know, and that's certain situation, we're going to want to have like stuff open for the player to see in the background with depth and yada yada. So we're gonna have to find some way to do it. It's gonna take a while. So we're probably gonna have to make that mock-up level and create it that way. How we're gonna make the background, I don't know, but we'll figure it out. Until then, let's just watch this video and kind of proceed slowly.
On it. Like I did before, I usually use a blast node to delete what I don't need. So in this case, I'm gonna do the same. I'm gonna grab one of the blast nodes, and I'm gonna tweak a bit in what I don't need. In this case, what I will do is, instead of name 0, I'm going to type in 255. What this is resulting is the geometry here of these floors. As you can see here. So again, I want to actually move it from here. So
but
more floor
you think he would want to just, he could potentially use the silhouette, because you should be able to just place things in areas that's walkable. So I don't know. There's got to be some way to calculate that.
4 pieces in the middle, and I want to use,
and that's why we're using tops, so we can
from this blast node
manage things.
Fuse, then doing the dissolving again of the edges. Then we could resample the geometry, and in this resample I can control how many pillars there will be. So in here right now there are a lot of pillars, so if I would increase this to, for example, 10, we would have a few here and there. What could be useful here is also to enable the resampling by polygon edge, so it keeps a bit more the structure of the input.
Yeah.
So increasing or lowering its value can then decide how many we have. So if you put in 5, we will have equally these 5 pieces. If you put in 2, we have a lot of pillars. But in this case, I think I'm going to go with 10, so we don't have that many pillars, but just a few. Then from here, I can already start using an instance. So what I will do is I will go back to the add node and an attribute instance, copy paste them, and place them here. So that's already set up. So the add node is going to delete the primitives, and we have then the points ready to go for an instance. Also here, if I would view the information, I see that I don't have any normals. So let's grab a create attributes, and in here I might as well assign a normal just to be sure that information has a normal. So normal is size 3 and leave it at 0, 0, 0. Now this is then the output for my pillar, and since we are here, I'm also going to build a system to then place around some crates around the pillar. And I'm going to do this by using a copy to points. I'm going to copy a tube on the points.
Okay, I was thinking it was going to do something like that. Create a radius.
Pillar has then a tube around it. Also set the tube into a polygon. So it's actually polygons here.
Is he going to delete the top?
I want to assign a normal direction, making sure it's also saved in the point. Then I'm going to scatter this information, and I will create new points based on these tubes. And this is then deciding how much crates there will be around each pillar. So I'm gonna of course lower this until we have, like for example 60 would be okay, maybe even lower. I don't want that many crates, just a few. I will also have other systems to place props. So the normal was important here to have a normal direction, because this copies it automatically.
So it's interesting. It just, I feel like there's so many other ways you could go and handle this, and this is kind of just like that rough beginners. I mean, the tutorial is intermediate, right? But I feel like after watching this, it's like kind of just brushing the surface of what you can potentially do with the system.
Grid, so I'm going to scale them to 0, so they are now flat on the grid. Then we can also fuse them together to be sure.
Yeah, we're gonna have to play around with it a lot, because I haven't made a build for my phone in a while, right? With the Houdini engine in it, so I don't know how it connects, or if I have to bake these or have the system bake them and then it loads from those bakes. But I would like it if it would just create these things on the fly. So we'll see what we can do with it. Figure out the limitations.
3 nodes, and then later I will set up here the path to the correct model, also here as well. And we can use this merge node here to merge everything together. Also make sure you're setting the right path to the right model.
Okay.
You can also put a frame around it, of course. So this is the
columns and barrels, we get it.
Around it. And this has then to be plugged in the...
By the way, guys, if you haven't already, please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel, okay? All the support helps, and I appreciate each and every single one of you being here. Also, if you subscribe to the channel and your profile is private, it's not going to pop up on the screen. I won't hear it. So if you subscribe and I don't call you out, I apologize, but I do like to take this little moment here to say thank you to those who do subscribe and have a private profile account.
Function collapse in each room to calculate what the room will be like. So again, I will be starting from a blast node, and in here we're going to filter out on what we need. So with the Wangtail decoder, it's very easy to ask the information that you want. So just by looking at the name attribute, we can easily filter out what we need.
So you could just potentially go to each and every single one to say like what you specifically want in those areas. Okay.
86 and number 17, which were some of the connection pieces. And I want to delete non-selected. So we have these as a result. So these are all my bigger rooms. Again, we are going to fuse them to make sure they're all connected to each other. And I want to do a loop for each connected piece. So for each
It'll be nice to see the loop in
and in this case
process
6
here.
pieces. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces. So we will have 6 different loops. What I want to do here in this loop is, so for each room, so here is one room, I want to set up a new grid. And in this grid is then calculate how my new wave function collapse will be. So in here I'm going to set this to points as well.
That's interesting.
This will then be my new wave function collapse pattern and so on.
Oh, so you can set it to
Now
points.
from here I'm going to place down a wrangle node. So attribute wrangle. And I'm going to set this to run over details. So it's going to run only once just to get information. And I'm going to start by making a float. So float, I'm going to call it point distance. This is equal to a channel called point distance as well. And when we press here on this icon, you have now the slider. So we can set a certain value now.
That's cool.
To get more information, I want to know how large my input is. So I'm going to type in a vector, which will store the size of the room. So I'm going to say get bounding box.
And you can probably access those
we want this size,
things
and we want
anywhere in the code after that.
So this
or anywhere in, sorry, not the code, but in Houdini.
Then I want to use a float, which will return the maximum size. So we can just use the function called max. Then we fill in here the size. So this will return the biggest value in the vector. Then we can say maximum size plus the point distance. Then I'm going to say add output resolution is equal to, and I want to make sure it's an integer, so the max size divided by our point distance. And we can also put here in front a I for integer. So now I have outputted a output resolution. So if I would go over here, I have now 31 here as value. So if I would increase this or lower this, we would increase the number of resolution that we can use in the grid. So I will use this value that I generated here and then to control, for example, the size or the rows and the columns. Further from here, what I also want to export is a float called just size, and this is equal to the maximum size. So now we have the amount of rows and columns, and also here the general size of what this piece has as biggest length.
That's really cool.
From this wrangle node into this grid, and the way I'm going to do this is by creating here a add spare input, and there will be an extra area here, and we can basically drag and drop this node in here, so it's sort of like linked together. You can also see the line. Now in here we can then ask the size. So in here I stored the size, which is 15.735, and I can ask that information. So I'm going to say detail look, it's -1. -1 is referring to the spare input. So 0 is itself, -1 is spare input. Then look for something called size.
Okay.
Then 0 as index. So this will now return this 15 value. And I can just copy paste this over here. And for the rows and columns, I want to use the output resolution. So row and columns instead of size, I'm going to type in here that output resolution. So right now I have this grid that should be the same size as my input here, and it has been divided nicely into some grids to use in a new wave function collapse. Next step will be then using
that's powerful
by size, so match size, and in here what I'm going to use is the alignment feature. So it basically is going to automatically align the grid on the floor. So here is my floor, and it automatically then aligns that generated grid here on that place. So as you can see, when I would play around with the slider, we will
That's
have
so cool.
density in this room.
So what can you scatter? Is he gonna scatter across that room dependent on that?
Values, because it's going to increase the calculations a lot. So maybe something like 1 to start with, and I can always tweak it afterwards. Now from here, what we also need to do is we need to delete the points that are outside of my original floor. So some points were not in there.
He's gonna make a bounding box out of it, or what?
And I'm going to use again the bounding options.
Okay.
To delete pieces that are not in there. So I'm going to use the thicken node. And in here, I can do both directions, give it a certain thickness, like maybe 1 or
Feels like a lot just to get rid of those. I feel like if you did it
with points, so make sure it's set to points
differently, it'd be easier for it to do.
And I'm just going to call them in room. So these points are always in the room. What could also be interesting here is to use an extrude node. And in this extrude node, if we play around with the inset, we can sort of like shrink down the shape. So if I would remove output size, we can shrink down this area. So that could be interesting to tweak.
Yeah, that actually could.
So we don't touch the border anymore.
That's pretty cool, Chad. I'm sorry. I like Houdini.
So I would go back here. I sort of like shrink down, so we don't have that border anymore. So that could be interesting if you don't want props to be too close to the wall. Now further from here, I'm going to start with the wave function collapse again. So what I need is this one, where we generate a pattern, and I also need the wave function grid. What we can also do here, instead of an image, we can just start selecting ports. So let's say we're going to use a 15 by 15 grid. And we can, for example, make a selection for prop placement. So what we can do is we can select some points where we want to have some props and press enter. So these are for props. Then we can do another one for some debris or something. So we can just select a few pieces here and there where we would like to have debris. And we also want to then have enemies. So I'm going to, again, new one. And I want enemies here. Press enter again. So now we have placed down enemies.
That's actually really cool. I don't know if it's particularly how I would do it,
use this in,
but it's nice to get a good idea of how you could go about creating it, because it reinforces the ideas you have in your own head, at least in my case.
And we're going to blast away the group that we made so in room and reverse it. So we have the correct points. So now we can calculate this for then every room. So we can use the loop. So this is then my output, and I can see that my points are consistently.
Yeah, but so the thing that is confusing in my head about this particular thing, or about how he's handling the procedural aspect of the enemies, props, debris, yada yada, in these situations, is that he hand selects these, right, and sets these attributes, right? But he doesn't do it for all of them, right? So the issue with that I see is, one, you'd end up having these same spaces for where these things would be at in those specific rooms, or these dots here would be in different places in those rooms. And while it could create more variety, but things would be more spread out, it just doesn't feel like, I don't know, maybe you would create like a radius or something that kind of randomly puts itself somewhere in the room, and that's how you would generate props. I don't know. We'll have to figure out our own method, but that's the issue I see with this. But it looks to work.
Rooms. And to visualize more what's going on.
But he could be hiding it in post-processing.
Nodes and place down a random from attribute. Use the name function, and I can now see these points.
Oh, that's sick. I didn't know you could do that. I didn't know you could color it from an attribute. I didn't even think to use that. Like I did my own. I saw how he did his variations of like the bounding box and adding it to, to get this thickness around the edges in his. And he kind of uses that same method. But for me, he uses a bounding box and he gets the groups on the outside. But for me, I wanted to give the user, myself, the ability to choose how thick these lines could actually be. So what I did is I first created my first wave collapse function. Then I created another one that's essentially the size of this, plus um, a integer that's a parameter that's exposed in the HDA times 2. So whatever this is, it's going to be a border bigger than that, and that's dependent on a variable that you can change from 1 to 10. And then from there, I decoded it, and I transferred the group names to change over to here. Sorry, I just messed that up. And then from there, we were able to put the names on the side, but in here, particularly in the conditions, you have to set everything to 0, because if not, you'll get some wonky results, right? So you set these to 0, and essentially what happens is it'll copy over the names from here into here, and then yeah, that's how we handle the borders in our system. And right now you're seeing this because it's part of that, but we're trying to work in tops. At some point, I'm thinking of actually tiling these systems and placing them together. So when I change props in one area, it won't change the props in other areas. Essentially, if I like something in the top, I can leave it as it is and focus on parameters in the mid and bottom section. Because in our game, we're going to have a middle area, which is its own biome, top area, which is its own biome, and then the bottom area, which is its own biome. So let's go ahead and finish the video.
So you can see that everything is working.
But yeah, I didn't know you could do it like that.
Here, use a copy to points so you can even visualize better.
Essentially, it would have been a lot easier for me because I could have just used the color node and then copied. And yeah, you get the point.
That properly set up. So we have placement for enemies. We scattered around some props. If you're not happy with the
yeah, is there? Hold up. I kind of want to go back and see if there's any. That's strange that it does it. I guess he's selecting. It works. I don't know why it works. But it's cool. Don't get me wrong. It's interesting to see how this works. Of course, everything, like you'll see some repetition right here, some tiling, it looks like. Not really, actually. But it's so small, the resolution is so small that you don't really recognize it anyways. So that's cool that he is able to achieve it in that way.
Here with the multi-resolution. So this is 1.
Can't you expose that to parameters too?
It should be lower or it should be higher. We can, for example, change this to 1.5. And then we can see that pieces are going to be bigger. So these are now bigger. So what we did here is sort of like a wave function collapse in another wave function collapse.
Mm-hmm.
And you can keep basically doing this until you're happy with the result. So you can take the parts where no props are placed and you can do another wave function collapse on there with a loop and a lower resolution, and then scatter around new things and so on.
Yeah, you could. So essentially that's how you could create variety in the wave function collapse. Is by selecting these, like you would say, oh, this is going to be barrels. And then you could do a wave function collapse on that and then create the variety that you want in that area based on those things.
So let's see how well this is going to work.
I think I have an idea of how to do it now.
And then filter out based on name.
Me freaking
So
rubbing
here at
the stubble I have and the beard I wish I had.
the props, then delete it. Then we can inverse this. So these are the points where props can be placed. Then I'm going to use another one. These can then be for the debris.
Debris.
These are pieces for debris, and then we can do another one for the enemies. And then we can assign here then our instances.
Okay.
So looking at it, there might be a lot of enemies for the room I have, so I might gonna lower the enemies number by changing the pattern.
Yeah.
So here I just tweak the pattern, and we just.
So that's another issue.
So I want you to keep in mind that it's quite easy to then start.
Well, it might be easy to do, but it's not like
changing.
It feels like if you wanted to change that in engine, it'd be a little bit difficult. And the whole purpose of having this is so you don't have to move in between engine and, you know, the software that you're using to import models and stuff.
Variation.
Chase Lee, how's it going so far? It's going good. I'm just trying to get an idea of how I'm going to handle variation in the procedural generation of our game, how I'm going to handle creating connection between, you know, these smaller rooms that we have here. Or, sorry, that's not a good example. Like I discussed earlier, I think little rooms like this will either be destroyed, while big rooms like this will draw a connection in between them. And even further on, we're going to want to get the silhouette of these things and essentially create a wave function collapse in here that'll create, you know, like little platforms and stuff of that nature. The only issue is that once we get so far into it, like if let's take into consideration, I'm like, hey, I'm going to add this thing that shoots you up kind of like a spring in Sonic. A lot of those springs are hand placed to handle, I don't know, a tall hill, right? So I'm sure at some point we'll get more down. We'll understand what we can and can't do a little bit further, but you know, it's using a system like this. I won't be able to create a mechanic like that without it just being out of place, right? But sorry, to make a long answer short, Chase, it's going good. I just have a lot on my mind. I apologize for the over explanation. Let's go back to the video. How's everything going for you, Chase? How's the
place them over
the sneak
and make
the
sure
sneak
always
mechanics?
assign the correct path, and also
Are you working on the remote control vehicle?
them.
Controlled car? Can't speak.
So I'm just gonna quickly skip this part where I copy the paths. Something interesting here is, what if we want some variation here in our normal? So if I would grab here my box with the copy to points, I can see that everything, if I would place a prop down, is perfectly aligned along the grid. So they are all facing the same direction. What I can also do
just
is
subdivide that.
an attribute random. So place down an attribute random over here, and we can use the normals, for example, to then get random orientations. So in this case, it's not fully working, and that's because we still have an attribute called transform, which sort of has priority in how the copying is going to happen. So let's delete this transform. So attribute delete transform, and I might just promote it over here. So all these points are having a transform being deleted.
Okay.
And now
Chase says, not too bad. Right now I'm trying to do a vaulting system.
So if you don't
with my experience, I didn't completely finish it on my game. And yes, there's going to be a lot of stuff here, chat, because I'm still playing around. But you have to use an animation montage and was it position warping? Forget what it's called particularly. Come on. And it died. Well, it looks like you called the crash. As my favorite actor for the moment would say, Owen Wilson. Wow. Wow. But yeah, what is it? Let me look up over here. By the way, guys, if you haven't already, go follow me on Twitter. Right, go follow on Twitter, like the channel video, and then sub to the channel. We stream every day, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. PST to 2 p.m. PST here at the channel. We're running a little bit over schedule, which is fine, but we're going to finish this video and then I'm going to hop on out of here. But with that being said, we do have quick devlogs here every week, short every week. I try to get a short every week, and we have 5 live streams every week here on the channel. So if you're interested in that, please make sure to show interest by, liking and subscribing. But yeah, what is it? Unreal warping, motion warping. Yeah, it is called motion warping. Look up motion warping and animation montages. That's what I'm using. I think a lot of the stuff that I have to fix in my game is just the animations themselves.
I don't want them to be
and really nailing down the warp
y-axis,
areas
then
and
just over
etc.
Here, press 0 and 0. And now they are nicely staying on the.
But if you find another way to do it, you decide not to go that route, please let me know, because my vaulting system is garbito right now. It's like really bad.
Now I want you to also keep in mind that there are multiple ways of controlling rotation. We also have attributes for rotation, which is if you type in rot, you will also have here values to add random rotation or orientation.
Okay.
So these will work as well, but they need to have a dimension of 4. So in this case, to keep it just simple, let's just use the normal. And
so it's more like a quaternion.
Yeah.
Quaternion.
Randomization.
Quaternion.
So these can.
I love that word.
And this is then for my instance. Now another thing I did not here account is, for example, I'm placing now props, but what if, for example, my pillar is in the way? So in here, but they're of course overlapping with my points over here. So I also want to filter out my pillars from this floor grid.
Okay.
And I would like to use here.
And he's got to do that for everything. Like if there's an object there, an enemy can't be placed there.
So here I have my first input is my.
That's gonna be fun.
And then my second input can be the points over here from my pillars, for example. So it will create an attribute called distance, and it will say how far points are from our second input. And I also want to save this into points, and I'm going to use a blast node here. And
it's a blast.
We can then ask the distance. So if I would open the sprite sheet, look into points, we have now over here called the value distance. Let's say add distance. If it would be, for example, smaller than 3, let's see what happens, and also make sure to set this into points. And
okay.
You can see that we have.
But now you don't get those things
pillars
tight against the columns. Right.
Now we can start including.
That's a whole point.
Of these
oh, that is true. He is using. Door. If I remember correctly, I thought he was using those for boxes.
Door, so I can actually walk in there. So in my case, I have a lot of bridges and connections. So I want to.
Sorry, chat. A lot of things going on in my brain right now.
Copy this blast net over here, and I want to get all the bridges or connection pieces. And I have to delete name 0 here.
But it is nice to see how he's using just the entire system to his advantage. Like right now, there's some stuff I had no idea you could do. I'll probably have to watch this again to fully comprehend it.
With my pillars.
But I'll probably dabble.
And now...
do it like Jazza.
To delete points over here. What can also be useful...
You gotta dabble before you dive.
My plane... because it's based out of points, and you can see the result here. Because it's looking based on points, so it can be useful to then just resample this. But this is quite a high resampling value, so we can enable here resample by polygon edge, disable maximum length, and use the here maximum segments, and let's set this to 3. So I have deleted all the points that are close to areas where I don't want the player to be blocked. And I'm going to plug this in over here. So this is just to filter out those areas. So this is then a more complex system to have
Yeah.
function collapse controlling the layout. So let's place down a frame, and I'm going to test out if this actually is working. So here in Unreal, I rebuilt my scene.
It's a lot of
and
boxes.
put down a lot of props, enemies, debris, and so on.
It works though.
In this case, I think there might be too much. Like you can see there's a lot of debris going here. We have a few enemies here and there.
But it just goes to show how you could create other things like trigger
Okay,
events in here.
Maybe it's too much. Maybe also let's play the game, see how that looks. I definitely think we have way too much props. I can see that some props are coming outside here. That's because probably my blueprint is coming a bit out of its size. So I might have to change that as well. I think there is overall too much debris going on. So I might change that. Overall, it gives us a nice layout to work with. And because everything is a blueprint, I can just quickly grab it and place down.
Yeah, that is the beauty of it. You can just manually adjust these things.
So it does not take that much size. So I made some changes to what my original pattern was. So I have just less of some props. What I also did is I exposed a seed value from the wavefunction overlap node. So I'm talking about this value over here. So we can change the room layout. So now I have 3 main seed values that are very interesting. So I can change the overall layout. I can change where the lava is. And I can change then the layout inside the rooms. So if I would play around with this value, I get a new result. So as you see here, I have now a new result, and I can still, of course, play this as well. And now it's a little bit less busy and a bit more room for the player. So in some cases like here, there are a lot of props stacked on each other, and that is just because my prop itself is too large for the area the point has been calculated for. So that means I have to scale down these props or scale up my grid in Houdini. So overall it works quite nicely. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you for watching.
That's cool though. It's good to see that there's so much power for this. I wish I can go and like these people so they show me more tutorials for these guys. But yeah, that's pretty much it with PDG. Oh, snapperoonie. We're going to have to look at this one though, guys. 100%. But it's an hour long. He's using PDG, which is essentially what I'm doing. Right? This is a PDG graph, and this is essentially so like whenever I, let's say I have something up here and I mess with something down here, it's not going to affect with the above, like all the above things, right? Gotta go. I enjoyed the stream. It's nice to watch while I'm working throughout the day. Well, thank you so much, Ria. It's nice to have you here while I'm working throughout the day and interacting with you. But I'm probably going to take note from what you're doing and get off as well. But yeah, other than that, guys, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. I'll catch you next time here at Nazareth Studios tomorrow, 10 a.m. PST, okay, for some more live stream action. So I will catch you then, guys. But until then, I will see you later. God bless, and Jesus loves you. Bye.